Coastal Southwest Florida is a very special place. Buffered by a chain of enchanting barrier islands, our region is famed for its white sandy beaches, swaying palm trees, shore birds, and of course, western sunsets. Until the 1960s, these islands were mostly sand dunes and mangroves, where gin-clear waters teemed with seagrasses, shellfish, and tarpon. Construction of causeways across these beautiful islands made them accessible to cars and opened the gates for sun-seekers from all over the country. A population boom followed, accompanied by development of the shoreline. Roads and buildings displaced wetlands and porous surfaces, while canals and concrete seawalls replaced mangroves. The settlement of these islands altered their environmental conditions, impacting water quality and aquatic habitats. We cannot turn the clock back to the time before the large-scale settlement of the coast, but we can adopt practices that lessen the impact of development on our beaches and shores. One such practice is native landscaping. In this presentation, you will be introduced to what native landscaping is, why it is important for coastal Florida, and how you can landscape with native plants. What is native vegetation? Native vegetation is a legal concept. According to Florida Statute 5B40, native vegetation is a plant species that is presumed to have been present in Florida before European contact. Native vegetation is also a scientific concept. According to the Florida Native Plant Society, native vegetation includes those species understood as indigenous, occurring in natural association in habitats that existed prior to significant human impacts and alteration of the landscape. What is non-native vegetation? In Florida, one often sees landscaping schemes consisting of turf lawns, crotons, non-native bromeliads, and impatiens. While readily available at commercial nurseries, these plants are not native to Florida. Some are classified as Florida-friendly, meaning they don't consume a lot of water. However, non-natives do require fertilizer, nutrient-infused mulch, and watering during dry spells. Rabbits love crotons, and with an abundance of these plants and no predators, they now breed like, rabbits, and have become a nuisance on the coast. The leaves of non-native bromeliads form cups that trap water and breed mosquitoes. These species, along with impatiens, hibiscus, and non-native lantana, displace native flowers that would otherwise attract pollinators like butterflies and hummingbirds that are essential to the biodiversity that all species rely on. By contrast, native flowers attract pollinators, not mosquitoes and rabbits. Native ground cover and bushes require no fertilizer, pesticide, or herbicide, or even mowing or watering, other than that which nature provides. Native plants are fully adapted to coastal conditions. Why are native plants important in coastal Florida? Native plants provide erosion protection on shores, as well as habitat for birds and nesting sea turtles. Bayside, mangroves buffer the land from storms, absorb excess nutrients, and provide habitat for aquatic species like shrimp and oysters, and shelter manatees. Upland, native grasses, flowers, and shrubs thrive in the nutrient-poor soils of the coast and require no fertilizer or extra watering. By contrast, non-native landscaping requires extra watering. Over 50% of water consumption in Southwest Florida goes to watering non-native vegetation. Non-native landscaping uses fertilizer, pesticides, and herbicides. Rain and storm events send this chemical-laden runoff directly into estuaries and the Gulf, diminishing water clarity and introducing excess nutrients. This type of pollution is called non-point source pollution because it does not come from a single source, like a factory or sewer line. Instead, non-point source pollution originates as stormwater runoff of fertilizer, which contains nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection and independent agencies have designated the water bodies of coastal Southwest Florida as impaired for elevated levels of nutrients. These impairments discolor the water and contribute to the dramatic die-off of seagrass beds necessary for healthy aquatic life. In fresh and brackish waters, these excess nutrients fuel blue-green algae and supercharge naturally occurring red tides in the Gulf of Mexico. So while fertilizer helps agriculture and non-native landscaping, it is also the leading cause of non-point source water pollution in coastal Florida. Despite attempts to limit fertilizer use, nutrient levels in our waterways continue to rise as our region grows and new residents opt for non-native landscaping. Total phosphorus and nitrogen levels in Estero Bay rose during the period 2014 to 19, according to Department of Environmental Protection and Lee County Environmental Lab data. Impairment of Estero Bay is overwhelmingly impacted by urban runoff, not Lake Okeechobee discharges. If a protected water body like Estero Bay can be impaired for phosphorus and nitrogen, the question then is, what to do? One possible solution that all of us can participate in is to go native. Adopting native landscaping is a practical, low-cost, low-maintenance approach to restoring the health of coastal waterways and habitats. By eliminating the need for fertilizers and other chemicals, non-native landscaping stops non-point source pollution at its source. How can you learn about native vegetation? Fortunately, there are many organizations, websites, and native nurseries in our area. A list appears at the end of this presentation. First, let's dispel some myths surrounding native landscaping. These myths are: native landscaping is unattractive, hard to do, and only for hippies. The fact is, native landscaping is beautiful, especially in an island setting. And with a little study, native landscaping is easy to learn and easier to maintain than a turf lawn with exotic species and shrubs. Native landscaping can be adopted incrementally or in a 70-30 native-non-native ratio like you see here at Mound House on Fort Myers Beach. And native landscaping is not just for hippies. It is not anti-development. Rather, it's about balancing a high quality of life with sustainable practices suitable for beach properties. It's about stopping water pollution at its source, restoring the health of our waterways, and maintaining coastal property values. Consider a few simple swaps of non-native to native. So instead of impatiens, plant blanket flower or dune sunflowers. Instead of crotons, try Mexican senna or peperomia. Instead of closia, plant cocoa plum or pitch apple. In coastal neighborhoods, it's easy to replace turf lawn with golden beach creeper or shore purslane. Replace bromeliads with muhly grass, fountain grass, or bay cedar. Instead of non-native hedges, experiment with silver saw palmetto and kunti. Help restore habitat that attracts pollinators like butterflies and hummingbirds with native milkweed or blue porterweed. It is a privilege to live in Florida, and with that privilege comes the responsibility of environmental stewardship. Being an effective steward here means recognizing the connections between land use and water quality, that what we see on the land lands in the sea. Let's work together as neighbors to protect our quality of life and natural resources. Go Native.